All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. My name is Pawan Oberoi. I have my colleague Sid on the call with me. Thank you for spending your valuable time with us on talking about whiteboard.chat's advanced features. We are going to not cover the basic features of whiteboard.chat. We have split our webinars into two, and we have 1 week is our basic features and the next week is our advanced features. So this is the advanced features session. We are also starting a set of teacher-led webinars. So if you want to sign up, you should sign up for either presenting about whiteboard.chat or attending. Either way, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to accommodate you. So what we are going to do today is we'll demonstrate some of the advanced features. Some of you have already asked questions when you were submitting your registration, so we appreciate that. We'll invite you to experience live with us some of the group boards and group activities, so you can experience that live with us. And of course, if you have questions at any time, please feel free to type them out on Zoom. We have a lot of people in the webinar, so we don't want people to unmute and talk. So just type them out, and Sid will club the relevant questions together, and I will pause once in a while and answer the ones which are relevant to the section that we have covered. And again, whiteboard.chat's main feature or the marquee feature is this: the observability and the engagement, where you can watch each and every child as they're progressing through the lesson, where they're struggling. Even when the quiet ones who don't speak up, you can observe them really nicely, and you can see how they're working, and then you can assist them by joining their boards, as well as if you put kids in group boards, you can actually watch them working on the group boards live as well. This platform keeps growing and growing, so it's amazing. Thanks to all of you teachers who have adopted this and given us feedback. We just crossed yesterday 50,000 people a day using it around the world. There are certain parts of the world where it's still not in use, but it's primarily used all around the world. Here are some really cool games that one of our teachers has made using whiteboard.chat, using the spinner, using movable items, and then posting images in there. There's another one with customized spinners, right, during before Christmas with nice colors, and so it's quite pretty. And again, whiteboard.chat is completely based on suggestions that we receive from teachers from around the world. So if you have feedback, please send us feedback by email. Our email is feedback@whiteboard.chat, or follow us on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. There's a really strong community of teachers who are on a Facebook group called Teachers Using Whiteboard.chat. We recently crossed 3,000 teachers in that group as well. So if you're using whiteboard.chat, you're not on that group, please join that group. So teachers assist each other, they interact with us, they suggest, they vote on features that we should be working on. So it's a lot of fun, right? So subscribe to that group as well. Sid will post a link on the chat if you want to get to it right now. And we will post the video recording of this session as well on all of the social media, as well as on our YouTube channel, so you can get to it from there as well. We used to send out weekly emails saying what are the new features that come out. We are going to stop doing that, so you have to explicitly go and we are going to stop doing that unless you explicitly go and register to receive email. So you can do that by going to whiteboard. I'll show you that in a second. You can go to whiteboard.chat. There's a little video here which shows you how to receive that, or if you want, you can just, when you log in, when you're in teaching mode, right, just go to the gear icon and say send me feature announcements via email. So if you want to continue receiving that email, right, that's pretty much it. Okay, I think we can get started since we are already here. Whiteboard.chat is a browser-based platform. It works across a varied set of devices, so you don't need to, wherever browsers work, it works. It on mobile phones, the screens are a little bit small, but it is usable. People do use it. The screens are small for extensive lessons, but it functions on mobile smartphones as well. So what I'll do is I'll show you some of the features just like we do, but some of the advanced features in this case, right? So what I'll do is that the first thing we'll do is we'll upload a file. So from your computer, the Google Drive thing is still not approved, right? So we're still waiting on them to approve it. But like this is my regular lesson which I load, which has multiple pages, right? And you can load it. For each page, it creates a page in whiteboard.chat, right? You can view the whole book now with this little thing on the left which opens the thumbnails. You can rearrange pages in the book as well, just drag them up and down if you want to, right? It rearranges pages. If you want to insert page or a delete page or a hide page, you can do that by right clicking any of the thumbnails that you see on the left here, right? But when this thing is open, when the sidebar is open, the board goes into read-only mode, so you won't be able to write anything, and it warns you. But if you close it, then you can go back to writing on the board as well. Sorry, 1 second. Okay. Then, so that's the basic page rearrangement stuff. I'll show you some of the more interesting features as well. So if I were to open the toolbar, right, you can see the regular tools are all there. Sorry, let me mute the conference. Don't know where is the.
Excuse me, Mr. Uberoy.
Yes.
So we can take, like if we do PowerPoint, we can just take our slide and then just put it in.
So I request you to type your answers on the Zoom chat because we have a lot of people, and what we do is we take pauses in the middle and we club the questions together, and then I'll answer it because we don't want to do. Thank you.
My apologies. Yes, sir.
Right. So sorry. So now what I'll do is that we go into the tool section. I'll show you some of the new tools. There is a select tool that we recently added, right? So we can go to the select tool. You can do two things. You can select a portion of the screen, right? You can crop it if you want to. Just click crop, right? And it'll crop that PDF to the area that you selected, right? And it'll update it to that, right? So only the portion that you crop. Or you can also copy. So if you want to copy portions of the screen, right, and you want to use it for, so you can copy it, and then you can paste it. You can use the Command V key as well to paste multiple copies of what you want as well using the select tool, right? We added more colors into the post-it notes as well based on requests that we got. We added the ability to create links to different pages in the book. So if you want to create a link, teachers use this extensively to create like a planner. So you can add a link like not only to external websites, but you can say, hey, go to page number 1, right? And then you can just specify the page here. And then you can create a table of contents, or you can create a lesson plan, and then the students just click this, it will take them to the relevant page where they're supposed to go by clicking that link, right? So that makes it super easy. The math editor, you guys all know, the student signals. So what I'll do is let me invite Sid and a pretend student into this conference as well. So I take the invite, I put that on Slack for Sid, and then I'm going to open an incognito window. So this is important when you want to test as a student. You want to open an incognito window in Chrome, and then you can test what the student's experience looks like, because the student's experience is very different from a teacher's experience, right? So you always want to test your boards as you create them from a student's experience. So this is the student on the right, and this is the teacher. I'll shrink this a little bit, right, so you can see both side by side. Right, so there are the signals things. You can put thumb signals or stoplights. So if I put a stoplight, for example, on page 1, the students can signal saying, hey, how well they are understanding the lesson or not understanding, and I can observe them in the grid view, right, as they are changing the lights on their screen, right. So it makes it super easy for us to observe students live as they are changing stuff as well, right. Then we have calculators, the basic calculator and the graphing calculator, which we cover as well. We recently added this tile factory, which is super cool. I will show you that in a little more detail. So we have a bunch of manipulatives, as you guys are all aware, right? If you click this palette here, you have a bunch of manipulatives that you can pull from, like currencies, math manipulatives, phonograms, right? But we saw that teachers wanted different colors and different structures of the tiles and different alphabets on it, different languages on it. So we created this thing we call the tile factory. So it's super easy to use. You just open the tile factory. You can specify how many tiles you want. So for example, I want A in green, I want B, C. By default, it will pick the color that I have picked. So it will use the color that I have. I can put 2 letters A, B, C. I can put 3 letters, right? I can put names. You can put emojis in there as well if you want, right? So it's like you can put any emoji symbols if you want it. For example, I want to put a monkey, or right, a lion, any of that stuff, and you can set that you can put different languages, characters, paste it from here, right? And then you can say students can clone. So in the factory, you can specify that the students can already clone it. You can fix the size also of the tiles if you want or not, and then just hit create, and it will create tiles automatically in the factory, and the kids can immediately, so if the kid goes to page number 4, right, they can immediately start using it using the move and resize tool, right? So it's super easy for you to create your own lessons. Teachers use this to create Scrabble, math Scrabble. It's amazing what all you can do with this thing, right? You can create the tile factory super easily. So I'll pause here for a second and see if there are questions. I'm sure there are some. Sid?
Yeah, Pawan, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. How many people can use whiteboard.chat at one time?
So on a given class, which is this class board, we can have up to 125 people. We can extend that. It's a soft limit. Nobody's asked us for more, but that's the limit right now.
Does locking the entire board make the teacher's writing invisible to students?
No, so yeah, we haven't reached that feature yet, but yeah, if you lock objects, if you lock all objects on this page, then what it does is that by default, the students can never move what the teacher has put on the board, right? So they cannot move, they cannot delete any of the objects that the teacher has put on the board, right? For example, this PDF, they cannot change it, they cannot move it, they cannot do anything to it. But if you lock it, then the teacher themselves cannot erase it accidentally or move it accidentally as well.
Okay. Where do you get the colors from for the tiles?
So the colors that you can just use HTML color codes and names. I can post this on chat, right? You can, like, there are millions of colors. You can actually use the hex values if you know how to do that, but it's pretty easy to pick colors from the type.
Yep. For cloning, should the teacher have to click clone each time?
So for when the teacher is doing cloning, so if this is my object and if I want to make copies of that object, you can use the infinite cloner. Sorry, I'm gonna mute. Everybody said you might have to unmute. Okay. Yeah, so if the teacher is cloning something, you can just use the infinite cloner. There's an infinite cloner here, but the students don't need to use it. This is more for preparing the lesson, right? The students, if you set an object to student can clone, just like these tiles were, right? They can just use the move tool and it will automatically create copies for it, right? They don't need to do anything for the cloning at that point.
Great. And so, can you create the presentation before the instruction? What do you recommend we should do?
Yes, so most teachers do their lesson plan either on the weekend for the whole week or the night before or the day before for the next day. That's what they do.
Awesome. And can you upload an entire PowerPoint presentation to the board?
Yes, so you'll have to convert your PowerPoint to PDF. If you have a PowerPoint presentation or a Google slide presentation, you can just convert it to PDF and upload it.
I think you should keep going. Some of the other questions you'll be probably covering in a second.
Okay. So yeah, so we added a tile factory. We recently added a table factory as well, which is a simple table creator. So you can specify I want 3 rows and 3 columns. What is the first row is a header, and it'll create me a little table here, right, which I can use for various purposes. Right now you can move the whole table, you can resize it. We haven't done the individual columns and the rows yet, but we will add that as well pretty soon. Okay. There is a text box. So this text box is super cool. You can actually use it to do auto corrections, right? So you can actually put text boxes here. You can, let's say the answer for this guy is 1, right? And then oops. And then the other one can be answer is ABC, right? And then I can specify, if I right click the text box, I can add answers to the text boxes saying this is worth 1 point, the answer is 1, right? You can set it to ignore special characters. You can have multiple choices for the answer as well, right? You can right click this guy, say add answers, the answer, this is worth 2 points and the answer is ABC, right? And it ignores case by default. So whatever case you specify, it won't use that. Right, the kid has their object still on the page. So, but okay. So when the student enters their answers, right, they just click this text box and they can type right there inside. And then you can do one of two things. You can either autocorrect only that kid's board from the open class board. So you can go to open class board and say, I want to correct only page number 4 for this student, right? And then you can just say autocorrect that student's name. Right, and then you can see it actually corrects it. It tells them instantly what their score is, what answers they got right, what answers they got wrong. Right, so it's super useful. Or you can correct the whole classes, all their boards at the same time. You can also lock individual boards now. So if you want to lock an individual student's board who's not behaving, or if they're not understanding what to do and they're scribbling on the board, you can individually lock a single student's board. Right, and you can unlock that from here as well once you're done locking and unlocking. So that's useful in the new features section in the open class boards. Yeah, okay. So I'll keep going. So these are all of the new features in the tools section. I will continue up. Here we added, let me clear this. We added some more options in the grid. Now earlier you used to have a big grid that can take up the whole screen, or like you have a small grid that takes up the whole screen, right? But you can do partial grids now. So if, for example, if you have a PDF, right? So if I want to put a grid, let's say this was a PDF and I wanted to put a grid on top of it, you can use this thing called a grid box, right? So you can just specify the size of the grid that you want and what kind of grid do you want. Like for example, a college line grid, a big grid, or a regular grid, and it will create that only on that section. But you see that it goes behind the PDF, right? So what you do is that you just select the PDF and you say set background and it will go back, right? So then the students can just do their math question. If there is a math question right here on the grid, you can say what is 23 plus 7. Oops. And then the kids can just type in there the answers, right, very easily. So it's, you can use that on top of any PDF or any file, and you have a partial grid on the screen as well. You can also do a couple of more things with the grid which we recently added. So if I were to use the big grid again as a whole, I use this thing called a grid painter. I can change the opacity of my brush, and I can draw, for example, bar graphs, right? So I can draw a bar graph in here. You can make, yeah, so you can see through the bars if you want to. You can do different colors, of course, right? You have millions of colors to pick from, and then you can do various different things with the bar graph. We also added the capability to draw straight lines. So if you're drawing a line or a rectangle and you want to make it straight, you just hold your shift key down and it will make it a straight line instead of a regular lines go all over the place, but as soon as you press shift, it will either be horizontal or vertical, which is useful as well for making things like this. So I'll pause for a second again and see if there are classes, if there are questions.
Yeah, how do you give each student their own workbook to work on? Like if I upload a math worksheet, how do I enable them to have their own?
So yeah, so that's covered in our basics webinar, but that's the default behavior, right? So as soon as you create a board, and so let's start this one more time because that's one of the fundamental features. So you go here, you say start teaching, right? You upload a file. Let's say in this case, let me upload a different file, a different workbook from my computer. I upload continents. Right, a map of the world. Right, so I upload this, and all I need to do is, this is my template, this is my teacher's template. I can prepare my lesson, I can put whatever I want, I can put some manipulatives on there if I wanted to. Let's say I put some Valentine's manipulatives, a heart, some maybe a animal, right, a parrot maybe, right? So, and then you can say these objects, you can use the select tool or the move tool and right click and say students can clone, and this object also students can clone, right? I can resize this as well so it's a little bit smaller, right, and this one as well, and that's it. So now when I send an invite to people, so I click this invite button.
No, Papa, no.
All right, you click the invite button and then you send, you can put that in your LMS or put it in your chat, and everybody gets a copy of that template. The template that I just created, everybody gets a copy immediately, right? And they can start interacting with it. They can, and you can observe them in the grid view, right? You can watch all the students as they're working on their lesson in the grid view. So I have Sid and myself right now, right, this student, and they cannot move any of the objects that you have placed, and they have the ability to annotate on top or type on it, all of that stuff instantly, right? And you can observe them in real time as they're going through their lesson, whichever page they're on, whatever they're doing, right? So that's the most basic use, right? So, and then you can, these things will auto clone as well because I set them to students can clone, right? So you can see that people can clone them. I'll use this thing to create a group board next, so I think that's useful. I created this thing in the first place. Okay, Sid, any more questions? You are muted. Sid, you're muted, we cannot hear you. This is the 2020 most used line.
Sorry. I think when you muted everybody, I got muted as well. Yeah, so a few questions about the autocorrection and text box. Do you want to maybe cover that a little bit?
Sure. So let me show you the autocorrection one more time. So I go to page number 2, right? I can upload a lesson. Let's just do that, right? So upload another lesson. So same one that I had. Right, so you can upload the demo pages, the PDF that I was using earlier. Right, you can clip it, you can crop it, you can do whatever you want with it. But now I can put text boxes. So first thing I do generally is I lock this thing because I don't want to accidentally move it. I don't want to accidentally erase the PDF. Right, then I put a text box here. Right, so for example, I know the answer to this is by. So I can just right click and say add answers worth 1 point. The answer is by. Right, and then I can say I should know the answers to some of these things. So okay, let's do the other one. So shout. Okay. So this one is whisper. Is answer is worth 1 point, and the answer is shout. Right, and that's it. Now I've prepared the lesson. I've put the text boxes in there with the answers. Right, when the kid and the student goes to that page, right, they will see that those two text boxes. They can type the answers here, right? So I recommend using a smaller font. We'll show you how you can set the default font size for the kids as well in a bit. So they can do shout, and then they can do by, right? And that's it. And then when I can autocorrect the whole class as well. So I can go to these 3 icons and say autocorrect all boards, and it'll match the answers that the kids have put in to the thing that I had entered, right? I think this is in the wrong place. That's why. I autocorrect it again.
So regarding the
There you go.
fireworks or the stars that show up, Pawan, is there a way for to disable that if some teacher does not want it?
Not currently, but we can add a way to disable that.
Uh, there's some requests and also covering the tiles again. So if you can get a chance to do that, that would be great.
Okay, sure. So yeah, so let me clear this. So the tile factory is in the tools. Right, you go here, you say tile factory, and then on each line in the tile factory, you can specify 3 things: what you want to go on top of the tile, the color that you want the tile to be, and the font color. The font color and the color are optional, so it will pick the color that you have for your drawing as the tile color by default, right? If you don't specify, and the font color will be white, right? Unless you specify the default color here, and then you just enter whatever you want as the and it picks the font size from here too, right? So if you make the font size smaller, it will make smaller tiles. If you make font size bigger, it will make bigger tiles, right? So I can just specify, let's say DEF I want green, right? And I can put emojis here, like I can put other icons. You can, if you right click, this is a OS emoji, this is not our emojis, right? So you can put animals, stickers here, and then say, okay, students can clone, right? You can fix the size of the tiles too, so the students cannot change the size, and you hit create, and the tiles come up on page 3, right? And the students at that point, then they have the ability to move and clone them automatically, right? As they see fit to make words, right? Okay. Sid, any more questions or keep going?
Just one thing. Is there a limit on how long these whiteboards are stored?
So the whiteboards are stored for 2 weeks by default. So if you go to your manage boards, right, let me call this, what is it, today, Jan 28th, right? So by default, if you go to your manage boards, the boards are stored for 2 weeks. What happened? Yeah, it takes a little bit of time to load when you have a lot of people in a conference. So I'll give it a few seconds. And there you go. Right, so the Jan 28th. So you see this one is expiring on March 11th, but you can extend the expiry by clicking this button, right? So it'll extend it out by a month. You can also download. So if you go to your tools section, you can, in the manage books section, you can say export the board, right? So this will export this whole board in a proprietary JSON format, right? You see it downloaded this file. And I can save this on my local hard drive. I can store it in the Google Drive, wherever else I want to, and it will save it for as long as you want. At any time in the future, you can come back and import the board into whiteboard.chat right from here. Right, you can say import the board, and then it will come back to where it was at that point. So if you want to use it for the next year, you can do that as well.
And where exactly are these boards stored?
So they are all stored in Amazon Cloud, right? These are all, there's no such one thing as a board. We store these things as teeny tiny objects, right? Each of these lines is an object, and it is stored in the database in Amazon. It's all encrypted. We follow all cloud best practices and stuff like that.
Right. And when you say something is stored for 2 weeks, what exactly is it is being stored? Is it just the teacher's board? Is it the students, or is it everything?
Everything, the student boards, the teacher boards, all of the whole classroom. So the student boards are associated with the student boards and saved there as well.
Right. And just to clarify, you don't need an Amazon, so the teachers don't need an Amazon account or anything.
No.
There's some questions about that. So
No. You guys don't need to, like, we use Amazon as the backend to this service, so that's all. But you never need an Amazon account.
Yep. There's a request to see the number line on the grid. Could you show that again, please?
Number line on the grid.
I think maybe just the number line that we drew. Did you?
So you can we have number lines in the manipulative sections, right? You can pull out one of the number lines here, right? And then you can put that on the grid if you want to, right? You'll have to resize it so that it matches. Oh, it matches. Surprising, right? But you can resize it a little bit. I think it doesn't match completely. Yeah, you can do things like that, or you can draw your own number line also if you want to. Right?
Is it possible to autocorrect an individual board, or is it always a full class?
No, you can autocorrect individual boards too. So if you go here and you say open class board, and you can select the student you want to autocorrect, and you can only autocorrect one student or a subset of the student. One by one, you can select the students you want to correct. So what most teachers do is when the kids finish, they can raise their hand and tell the teacher I finished, right? And once the teacher sees this, they can go to that child's board and click autocorrect, and it will only autocorrect that child's board, right?
How can teachers share their boards? I think the question is, one is just sharing within your the boards within the teacher with the teachers within your school, maybe, or even with the community. So maybe multi aspect to it.
Right. So if you click this manage book icon, you can say send a copy. Right. So this will create a link, just like Google Drive creates a link, but this link is different, right? So as soon as you copy this link and email it to somebody, when they click the link, it will make a copy for that person right then, right? So from that point onwards, you are on two different boards. They are working on a copy. You have your original saved as is, right? You can also publish this to community. We have a bunch of community boards in this manage book section, right? So teachers are gracious enough to contribute to our community and put the boards out there. Right, and you can look through them, you can make copies of them, and so forth as well. So I'll show you one more feature before we go to the group activities. I think we're almost out of time. So so one thing that we recently added was the ability to do time machine. So for example, you can actually see, like for example, let's say this kid was on this page, right? On the page number 1, and you want to play back the lesson as they were progressing through the lesson, if they were doing an asynchronous activity or if they were working, and you want to go back and see how were they doing, you can turn on this time machine, right? You can go back and say, hey, at the beginning of time, what did the board look like as they progress through the lesson, right? They put these numbers at 1:31 p.m., right? You know exactly what they did, and you can go back and forth really easily and see their thinking and where they were stuck and what they were doing and not doing at that point, right? So that's super useful as well, right? What else did I want to show? One more thing. No, I think that's pretty much it. Okay, so I'll now show you how you can create group boards and group activities. Oh, the new dice also, maybe we should show that. Okay, sorry, one more thing. So there is a spinner and a new dice, right? The programmable dice that we just recently created, right? So what you can do, of course, is the spinner you can put on the group boards. So I can put so if I can put the default stuff here, right? And I can say sync student spins. You can play with it. I can resize it to be smaller, right? Oops, I hate this thing. Put it here. Right? And then the dice as well. The dice, you can pick how many dice you want. What do they need to contain? They can contain like a combination of letters, numbers, fractions, anything that you can imagine, right? So it's super useful to create your own exercise with the die as well. And then when you hit roll, it will actually roll for everybody on the screen. Right? So now, I put both of these on the student screen. So one more thing I will show you is the grid browser, which a lot of teachers ask about. So remember, in the grid view, what happens is that you see as students live the page that their browser is on. So if they leave, what happens is that the board remains on that page where the students left it. But you can quickly, if you want to flip through pages in the grid view, you can use the grid browser. So you click this thing, the setting here, and you turn on the board browser. Right, in the board browser view, you can say, instead of showing me real time, I want to see everybody's page number 1. Right, so you can see everybody's page number 1 really easily. You can see now, if you want to go to page number 2, you can go to everybody's page number 2 really easily, right? Some students never went to page 2, so you won't be able to see it. And then you can give stickers from here as well to the students onto, let's say you want to give a student is doing a good job, just like you do the regular sticker, click here and click there, the sticker will show up on the kids page automatically, right? So you can, on the grid, you don't need to join the board, you can quickly flip through the pages, make sure everything is right, and then you can give them stickers from here directly, right? So that's useful. There's more administrative tools in the gear menu that we recently added. Like, for example, you can set the default size of the board. A lot of teachers complain that the grid view is too small. So now you can say, if all your kids, for example, have Chromebooks, you can set the size to the Chromebook, and then you'll see a much bigger picture. Or if they have iPads, you can set the default size to an iPad, and you can say see a much bigger picture. If you want to do an examination where everything comes out as an A4 paper that you can print later on, you can set it as an A4 paper as well, right? You can also customize the menu options for students. So if you click this button here, you can customize everything that the student you want to disable for the student. So if you don't want them to have calculators, for example, or you don't want them to have access to the palette, for example, you can do that. You can set their default font size, their brush size, even the color. We recently added color today in the morning, so that you can specify the color for the students so they cannot change it. Right? So you can do all of that from within this administrative tool here in the gear menu. Right? Okay, any other questions, Sid?
Yeah, quite a few questions. First thing, let's just be clear. Again, teachers want confirmation this is going to be free.
Yes, it is free.
Okay. There's a question about the lasso tool. Do you want to demo that as well, please?
Okay, I think the lasso tool, in my opinion, needs a little bit work, but it is usable. So you can just draw if you want to club objects together, right? So if you have an object that you're drawn, or you have a combination of an object with a sticker, or anything, you write text on top of it, right? And you want to club all of them together in a single object, you just use the lasso. The easiest way to think about the lasso is you're drawing a rectangle around what you want to select, right? So you just draw a rectangle up to the side, and the left, right? And then all those objects become a single group. You can ungroup it later on if you want to, but you can now move it around as a single object too if you want to, or you can resize it. You can do any of the activities as a group.
Right. How would I restrict the students only to use the text or type option and not have them be able to draw on the board?
You can disable the draw tool. So if you go here, right, for example, so two things you'll have to do. So you change the default tool to move and resize, right, and then you can go here and say customize menu options and turn off everything else except turn off the draw tool, right, so they won't have access to draw, and the only thing you can leave on is text.
So one teacher had accidentally erased a student's work when she was trying to erase her writing. So can the teacher make sure that the student's work is locked too?
We will have to check. I think there is a way to lock the students. If you go to there is a way to lock all objects. So once you have done everything and you want to lock everything, you click this thing and say lock all objects on the page. It will lock everything that is there, right? So at that point, so it will lock everything on that page, right? And then you can choose to unlock them individually, right? You can unlock, let's say, I want to unlock the heart, I want to unlock the parrot, right? But yeah, you can lock it, unlock it, and then when you do corrections, and if you won't accidentally erase stuff at that point.
Does the sync student role mean that all will see the dice roll when one student rolls?
That's right.
That's correct. Yeah, the same applies for the spinner as well.
That's right. So
yeah, quite fun.
now, any more questions, or should we invite to group activity?
I think you should invite for the group activity. We can
Okay.
answer them.
So there are three ways to create groups. This is one of the most asked for things in these advanced webinars. So I'll try and cover all of them. I'll go slow, but please ask me to repeat if I need to. So you click this button, right? You create the group board from here, right? You can pick the students you want. This is the default that we show in our basic webinar, right? You can pick, I want these two students to be part of the group, right? So I can say move them to the right and give the group a name, right? So I call it blue. And now all these both the students will be on the blue group, right? And they can interact with each other. They can do stuff on the group board as they just see fit, right? Let me just put a little spinner also, so that the group board has some activity. So go into the widgets, put a spinner, just say make sure it is set to students sync spin, and then I can move it and move it here. Right, so now I put it on the teacher board, but essentially the students will get access to it as well on the group board, and they can use the spinner on the group board as well. Right? And if I were to, so the easiest way for the teacher to go to the group board is look at this, go back and you click this eye icon and it will take you to the group board. Right? So this one I don't need. Right? So you see the spinner is there, and then when one of the students spins, it syncs it across to the other students as well. And as a teacher, you can always see who drew what on the group boards as well. So if you use the select tool, you can see who was the last person to update that object, and you can quickly find out who that is. And so I'll go back. That was the simplest way to create, that was the oldest way to create a group. Once you stop the group activity, you can press this trash icon. What happens is the board is still saved in the cloud, it's not deleted. So you can go back and refer to it again if you want to, but the students are again sent back to their individual boards at that point. Right? Now, if I were to create another way to create a group board is to actually auto create boards. You can specify I want 3 students each in this group. So if I have a set of 15, it will create 5 groups automatically. Since I have only 2 students, it will just create a single group, right? So at that point, it will create a group called auto 1, right? And if you have more, it will do auto 2, auto 3, auto 4, right? And then everybody will be placed on that group board that they are assigned to, and then they can play together, they can do activities together, and then once you're done, you just click this again, and then they're sent back to their individual boards, right? And the third way, which is the pre-creating group boards, right? So let me stop here and see if there are questions first.
Yeah, Pawan, is there a way for students or teachers to leave voice messages?
Yes, so we have, you can use the, again, this is something we cover in our basic webinars, but in this, if you click the audio, you can say add webcam audio or video, and you can record video or you can record audio, and hello, hello, hello as a teacher, right? And then save it onto the board, and then students can play it, or vice versa, students can read from it. You can also take pictures with your webcam of actual work that you're doing with a pen and paper, right? And then you can click that and save it. It'll come up on the student board, and teachers can see it in the grid view, all of that stuff, right? So yeah.
Yeah, can you see who is typing on the group board, especially if someone's putting something inappropriate?
Yes, yes. So yeah, that's what I was showing earlier. Let me show it one more time. So this time what I'll do is I'll pre-create groups. So this is a different way. So if you have prepared your board in advance and you want to call people and pre-create groups, this is how you do it. So you go to the avatar icons again. You say create group board. Now let's say I want to create 3 groups or 4 groups. How many people do we have? We have a lot of people. Okay, so maybe 5 groups. So you say I want to create a fake ID called G1, right? A group ID called G1, right? You move the G1 ID to the right, right? This is the people who have membership into that group, and call the group name as the same. So make sure it's in 3 places: G1 here, G1 here, and G1 here, and create group, right? So it will create one group. Now I can do the same thing for other groups. So G2 add ID, move this to the right, call it G2, right? Create another group board. We should make this easier so that we don't have to explain it. But okay, so G3, G3, create G4, G4, right? Let me do one more. G5, move to the right, and G5, right? So I have 5 groups created. Now what I can do is what happens is that when the students are invited to this page, so I'm gonna just reset this so that a new student can come in. So I can go here. Now when I invite the student, right? So I copy the invite the student, and when they get invited, they'll be asked for their ID. So you have tell the students, look, you enter G1, G2, or G3, or G4, or G5, right? And your name, right? So you can say Pawan Test, and G1 is the group name. And then they'll end up exactly on the group board. They'll also have their individual board, but they'll end up in the group board where they were assigned, right? And then they can start playing, they can start doing all the activities that they need to. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to put this link, the invite link, on the Zoom chat. You guys can play with it. If you are in the first 1/5 of the alphabet, if your last name is in first 1/5, or just randomly pick G1 through 5 and join the group, right? And then you can play with each other. Just put a heart, try and drag the heart to where you're from, so we can see everybody where they come from, or the parrot. So we actually stay 30 more minutes after the top of the hour. So if you want to interact with us, if you want to talk to us, if you want to have more questions we didn't answer, we stop the video recording at the top of the hour, but we stay 30 more minutes after it so that people can interact with us a little bit more. Sid, any questions that we need to answer?
Yes, so there's one comment about the text box for autocorrect. So the teacher said that they find it a little sensitive to select it at times. Do you have any suggestions?
Uh, so I think the right click we have improved a little in the last few days. So if you use the right click and if it doesn't work for you, please reach out and let us know, or stay back and show us. We would love to fix that, because earlier it was a little bit sketchy, but now the right click should work quite reliably, especially if you do it in the middle of the box. Try not to do it at the edges where the lines are.
Okay, a little bit more specific to that teacher, I think this question, but what do you recommend is the best way for students to show their work to a math problem if they only have a mouse and can't use a stylus?
So there are several ways you can use. I don't know if you know about the math editor. There's a math editor built into whiteboard.chat, so you can actually type out equations if you want to, right? You can do subscript, superscript, you can do um, formulas, right? You can do a lot of this stuff. If the kids are older, you can use the manipulatives. There's a math manipulative section here, right? So if you are younger kids, you can use the manipulatives to show, use the blocks out of here to show all the things that you want to, right? There are number lines, there is algebraic tiles. It depends on the age of the kids, so and depends on the activity. There's hundreds of things. There are more than 1,000 different manipulators we have on the board already, right? You have currencies.
Right.
Any more questions?
Yes, so there's one. What would be the most efficient way to manage students' boards and give them feedback?
So you can join their boards. We have a chat built in, which I didn't show you, but let me show you that as well. There's a chat built into the chat portion of whiteboard.chat is pretty cool. See, it is blinking, huh? See? Okay. Right. So it is a chat built into whiteboard.chat. Right. So the chat, the way it works is it's one to many. So the teacher, whatever they type, they can pick who they want the chat to go to. By default, it goes to everybody in the class, but they can pick the child that they want the chat to go to. And the student can also, or the recipient, this is really cool. The recipient can pick their language, right? They can say, hey, I only understand Spanish, right? So they can pick their language of their choice, right? And then whatever the teacher types, so if you have English language learners or you're working with different types of kids who don't understand the same language, they can set their language and they can chat as well. I see a lot of teachers talking to me. So on the group boards, if you'll open, you can see the group boards, you can chat with each other too, whoever is on your board, but the teacher still gets a copy of the things that is going on chatting in the group board.
Yep. Is there any way to embed the GeoGebra calculator so that students can view the teacher's input?
So not currently. The GeoGebra is an external application right now. So when you enable it, everybody gets their own copy. So you cannot see the only thing that some teachers do is this, that you can actually export. So I don't know how to use this thing but this is essentially what you draw. What you can do is that you can say export image, right? If you click export image, copy to clipboard, right, and then you can just go to let's clear this page, and you can just paste it. I unlocked the subject. So if you paste it in here, so it shows up, right, whatever you have done. in the GeoGebra. So you can just use the paste key, Command V or Control V, and the input from GeoGebra shows up. But that's the only way I found it. But you cannot see them live working just like you can see them with the basic calculator.
Is it possible to adjust the pointer, spotlight, or snake size?
Not right now, but I think a lot of people have asked us to make the snake smaller. We'll probably make it half the size, so it's maybe 2/3 of the size.
Okay. Is it possible to reset the autocorrect so that it doesn't rescore the work every time you return to the page?
Not right now, but we can add that too. I think they said you wanted to add that to places.
Yeah.
Alright.
Here's an interesting question. Can you keep students from leaving a board? Maybe because they're working on a timer to release the class.
You can enable timers. So you have a timer that you say when you want to do. You cannot have them because it's a browser, right? The kids can just close the browser and walk away. But you can see when was the last time the kid worked on a problem. So if you open the avatar menu, you can see there's a little timestamp. It'll tell you when was the last time the kid was on the board, right? So that will show you that.
I think there's some teachers who still having problems joining a particular group. So could you repeat how the student can join a group board?
So when you pre-create the groups, and so what I recommend is do this, right? Go to whiteboard.chats. So first of all, do this, click reset, right? So if you click this link first, right, and then click the link to my invite, close the browser if possible, or close all the whiteboard.chat windows, and then click this link, the one that I posted earlier, right? And it should ask you, oops, there's a page 2, sorry about that. No, don't do that, do this one. So when you go to click the page 1 link, which is the group board, so click the second link that I posted, it should ask you for an ID, right? So you have to enter your name and then enter your ID. So it can be G1 through 5. Those are the groups I created, and just enter that ID and it will take you directly to that group board that I created. If you still have trouble, stay back and we'll help you look at it after the recording stops. Sid, any more questions?
There's one question which I'm not sure I quite clearly understood, but I'll repeat it exactly as it was typed. If I want to add to a current board, can I add to the next page?
Yes, so you can add pages all the time to a board. So if you just go to a page that doesn't exist, it will automatically add a page to that board. So as you are progressing, you can keep adding. If you want to insert things in the middle, this thing is a little bit finicky, be careful. So, but you can open this sidebar and you can say insert page as well if you want to insert things in the middle.
Will there be a basic webinar again?
Yes, next Thursday.
Yeah. So we're trying to alternate between basic and advanced. So and if you run into our registration page, is, let's say if it's related to the advanced webinar, we still try to include a link to the next basic one, so you can always sign up for whichever one you want.
So if you click this, for example, what Sid was saying, right? You see this is the advanced features one, but if you want to click for the next available basics one, you can register here.
Cool, thanks.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I'm gonna stop the recording, but we'll stick around. Thank you everybody for coming. If you want a PD certificate, send us an email. We'll get you a PD certificate at feedback@whiteboard.chat or reply to Dhaval. We'll get you that.
Awesome.